Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the I Am MLUV Google Hangout. My name is Monica Blair, aka MLUV. I am MLUV. Um, where I wanted to introduce myself, and I also have Sandra here, and we may have some other people join in the Hangout. Today's topic is on failure, and being able to learn from your failures. To just give you a little background for me, uh, I am retired. I'm a multipreneur. I've retired from my job in 2012. I worked 25 years as a telephone technician, and I'm now working for myself full time. I'm on the odyssey of establishing wealth and keeping my health, and just living out my dream. And I am now, I would say, I posted a photo on my Facebook page some time ago that says something to the effect of living in your dreams, actually living every day, creating a lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from. And I feel that I have done that. I integrate my daily activities with my work. I'm able to establish myself with the goals that I have and live with, I want to say, fun activities throughout the day. So I really don't feel like I necessarily need a vacation from work. But from time to time, I might want to take a vacation, and I can work while I'm on vacation. So it's an awesome lifestyle that I feel I've created for myself. And I know that a lot of people have asked questions about things along my journey. So we've established this Google Hangout to help other people and share the knowledge that we have. Um, I want to introduce Sandra Rosario as well, and let her kind of go into a little bit more detail about herself. And then we'll go forward with our topic for today.
Hello, thank you, Monica. Hi, my name is Sandra Rosario, and I basically, from a very young start, probably from my grandmother. She was an entrepreneur herself back at in her home country. She kind of, planted a seed on me from very little to, think, ahead, like when you're an adult, maybe you want to run your own business, you probably want to be your own boss. You never really want to work for anybody else for the rest of your life. That's probably not the way of going for it. And I kind of had that all my life, and everything I was thinking of as I was coming up, which was very, was kind of little, and for other kids, that was kind of strange, for them to think, to think stuff like that. Because most people, when they ask you, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? The girls will say, oh, I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a secretary or something like that. And the first thing I kind of said, was like, I want to be my own boss. And everybody looked at me like, god, she's weird. And I'm like, and I thought like, okay, but I realized that people who make it to the top are weird from the start anyway. That's my people, those are my people. All of them. So, I decided to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I always had that in my mind. I'm basically more what you call a multipreneur, because I'm always looking for all different streams of income, because you never know, especially with the topic that we're going to talk today about failure. Having multiple streams of income is pretty good when something, oops, happens, and you're not really, reliable. Okay, this business has just failed. Now what? Now I have nothing. So,
Awesome.
I that's always been, my passion, multiple streams of income and also residual income. I like to do things once and just, and just get paid for it forever and ever and ever and ever, and pass it along to my child, as a legacy.
Right. Yeah,
That's a little
awesome.
bit about me.
That's good stuff. I see BJ joined us. BJ, we're just kind of going around introducing ourselves. We just haven't quite started on the topic. Today's topic is on failure. But we'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. This call is recorded as well, so people will kind of get to know you whenever they join in and see the recording.
Okay. My name is BJ Stevens, and I have a very eclectic background. I actually have been in direct sales network marketing for 48 years. Most of that time was part-time. I pursued professional careers. I spent 25 years in healthcare and was involved in management in healthcare and delivery services. I was a nurse for a long time and then went into recreational therapy. And then after 25 years, it was time for a change. I needed new air. So I went and pursued 3 degrees. I have a degree in accounting. I have a degree in human resources. And I have a degree in occupational safety. No, I misspoke. I have a degree in office management, but I have like 12 different professional certifications in occupational safety and health, the dreaded OSH.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have worked in every one of those areas full time and worked part time, as they say, on my wealth. So, in 4 of the 15 companies in that 48 years that I've been with, I have earned over $80,000 part-time in 4 of those companies. And now I am retired. I still am currently involved in network marketing. I have recently, you don't know this, Monica, but I have recently left my big company, and I am now doing full-time marketing for my mentor.
Oh, really?
Yes, I have.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you sent me a link, and I've been so busy lately, and I want to check it out. So I definitely want to connect with you later. And I know you sent me a reminder. Somehow my reminder came up with a different day, and I
No,
think I inboxed you because I was out when it came up. I'm like, oh no, I missed our appointment.
I
But
thought that's what it was. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and actually, I have not been progressive on our schedule. So, I know
You-
I actually changed gears. I realized I was biting off too much with the plan that I was
Absolutely.
making.
I told
So,
you that.
yeah, yeah, I just decided to back off because of the projects that I'm already working on. And what
Yep.
I really need to do is just focus on expanding on what I'm doing versus trying to add on something else. And just so you know, Sandra, because you're kind of not in the loop of what we're talking about, I've met with BJ on a one-on-one kind of conversation. And I think I told you a little bit about the fact that she was kind of helping me get on board with a little bit more of goal setting. Sandra had done a presentation on goal setting. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and so yours, I wanted to share it with her. I think I went, Sandra, did I go over the outline of what we discussed when
You
I shared it with
you
you?
went a little bit on it and everything, and I know you were saying about it, but I don't think we actually completed it. And I'm like, well, I said, okay, we got to figure out a time when we got to sit down so you could, tell me about it. Because I'm always a person like, I may get ideas here and use it, but then if somebody gives me another idea, I'm never close to anybody's ideas. You never know which one's going to work, which one's going to, you can combine it, or which one,
Yes,
that I've always been open. That's why when opportunity comes by, I rarely let it go because I'm like, well, it's an opportunity. Why'd you let it
yes.
go?
It really comes down to perspective because what can work for you might not work for someone else, and,
That's so true.
yes. And that's why I kind of decided that let's have these hangouts for just that. It's focused on people that are starting out, and they're trying to figure out, in one of the other recordings I talked about how when I started my business, when I first came home and I'm working for myself full time, I didn't know how to organize my office. And I'm asking people, how do I organize my office? And no one really gave me any feedback on how. And what I realized is that I just had to do the work. And once I started working, then I can figure out how it would fit for me. Now, my office is not the best organized, but I got some kind of a system in place with the various businesses that I'm working that I can turn over here, and I know that this corner is for this business. I know over here that this drawer in this file cabinet is for this business, and things of that nature. So when I need to put my hands on something, at least I'm not all over the room trying to look for things. So
That's
but
true.
it really comes down to how everybody does it.
Well, and that's true, and that goes to a very good point, and a lot of us forget about it. Um, it's not just in visualizing the steps that you have to go through and the mindset that you have to go to create your goals. It's a whole awakening. It's learning that what your dreams and wishes are, and we talked about that, aren't your actual goals. Goals are the actionary steps that you implement and put into place to achieve those dreams and wishes that you're ultimately seeking. People get that turned around so much. They mix those two words up all the time. A goal is not a dream. A goal is how you put the steps that you take to get that dream.
Yeah.
And goals can be, as we said, they're plateaus. You have to. There's not one dream or desire that you can ever just start out in the beginning and arrive at the next day. You've got to plateau it up and up. So every one of those plateaus is a goal. And you have, and as you just said, people always put too much on their plate because they are in a hurry. No offense, dear, but they're in a hurry to get to that apex.
Yeah.
And it never, ever, ever works that way. You've got to start small, and you've got to keep working at it and be persistent. It's keeping the focus, it's keeping the mindset, and it's being diligent about doing it. But there's also something you just said that's very, very true about perspective. Not only is everybody's perspective different, but their level of learning is different. Some people are readers and can pick it up and learn from reading. Others are visual. Others learn by seeing. Others learn by doing.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what type of personality and what type of learning skill you have, that when any teacher has to focus on, even in a classroom, when you focus on that, you have to be able to recognize that as a good teacher and as a good educator, and then you have to be able to key in on that, because Johnny may learn at a different pace than Bobby over here, and in order to make them successful in whatever it is you're wanting them to learn, that one may take more time than this one. Yeah. So you have to key into that. Everybody is different. So it doesn't mean that everybody's dumb, and it doesn't mean that you just can't learn a darn thing. Right. It just means it takes longer for others to learn. And it has been scientifically and documented, proven, that those who take longer learn better.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I know for me, I'm a mother of 6 sons. And in my process of raising them, I was a bit on a journey because I didn't have the vocabulary to know what I was asking for as far as how they learn. And I understood because I'm a visual learner, so I could understand enough to explain that to the teachers. But that's not the process that primary schools in my area are teaching. It's kind of, you reach this goal, and if you're not learning right here on this level, there's something wrong with you. Let's get you tested for ADD. Let's get you tested for learning disability. Let's get you tested for some kind of a learning problem because you don't fit in this box. And I'm one that I really advocate not in the box. But at the same token, I didn't have the vocabulary then. But
No
just kind
parent
of,
does.
mm,
No parent does.
yeah, I mean, those are things that you kind of learn when you go
Yeah.
outside and you reach out for, just kind of reaching out and trying to find out what you're trying to learn, but you have to kind of have it in your mind where you're trying to go. And it really all, in what we're speaking about, they all kind of rotate around each other, because the whole topic of today is on failure, but that's what failure is. People tend to get disheartened when they're failing, but that's how you learn. That's how
Well,
you improve.
but it's important when we use the word failure because we bandy that about so much. If you don't, if you don't arrive at this level, like you said, if the teachers say you're not functioning at this level, they're a failure. Or if you don't perform in your regular job at this level with all the tasks that we've assigned you, you're a failure and we're going to get rid of you. If you don't perform, whether you're a professional athlete or a concert pianist or a master chef or a master mechanic, if you don't perform at this level, you failed and we're going to get rid of you.
Right.
I think we have as a society used that failure word so wrongly. Do people fail? Yes, but we don't fail to give up. We fail to succeed.
Hmm.
And if we focus on doing the things that we need to do to succeed, then not functioning at this level doesn't mean I'm a failure. It just means I'm going to find another way to get around it.
Exactly.
I'm going to enhance some skills that maybe, if I'm honest with myself, my skills aren't where they need to be, and my ego's taken a hit, and now I actually do need to step it up.
Yep.
So I don't think failure is a word. It's just so ingrained in our conversation, and I think we need, and I'm as guilty about this as anybody, we need to stop using that as a means of achievement.
Yes.
Do we fail? Yeah, I failed at not making breakfast this morning because I just ended up having some scrambled eggs. Kevin didn't have breakfast at all. But that was his choice. I could have made breakfast as a dutiful partner, but I didn't. You
Right.
know, so there are things that we all fail at,
Yes.
but it's not in that succession of achieving goals and dreams. What we fail at is ourselves.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
another thing that I have taken a quote of is failing forward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I try to fill my days, although there's somewhat of a conflict the Google Hangouts will eventually date and time change because I know that there's a conflict with some people's schedule. But I'm missing my Super Soul Sunday from Oprah, and I get a lot of soul filling from that. And I kind of missed my point in the failing forward, and that'll probably come up. But I wanted to mention, for me, one of the biggest failures for me has been one of the biggest successes. And I think that comes into the mindset with speaking about failure. Because of just that, society has put a stigma on failure. And people have put a period on the end of that word. And it's not. If you open your eyes and look around, opportunity is always around. So for me, my biggest failure was my not making it to my 30 years and collecting that wonderful golden check that you're supposed to collect once you retire from your job with all the little birds singing in your ear and the violins playing, and now I can go sit in the rocking chair and vegetate. Um,
One of the things, if you will remember, when we were going through that goal setting process, you remember one of the things that I said, the reason, one of the biggest reasons that I take everybody through that hour-long process. Do you remember why I said that?
um,
It's
I'll let
it's
you.
yeah, it's not for you to recognize that you failed at following through a step.
Mhm.
It's helping you to reduce the number of failures that you perceive. Because if you set a goal like 5 calls a day, and a week later you say, I didn't do it, I only did 3, I failed. No, that's 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 supposed to be that pop that tells you I either didn't work hard enough at it, or I got too many other things on my list and I couldn't get 5 done. So
Mhm.
now I need to take a new perspective
Exactly.
on what I do. So it's not recognizing failures, it's recognizing that you got too many things on your plate and you can't overthink. You have to keep all what you do in a small thing. So what you said in the very beginning was, I overdid too much.
Right.
That's
Right. Well,
that's
actually, for that particular subject, it was looking at another shiny thing. It was a shiny thing that was over here. It was being discussed within the group, and I thought I could add that on. But just speaking back on what I was speaking about on my generally what people consider failure on not making it to that 30 years because I left at 25. For me, where I'm at right now, sitting on the couch would not be an opportunity that I would be able to experience because I would be tired, I would be unhappy, I would be focused on a goal that wasn't my goal, it was society's goal. Because society has labeled that to be the failure if you don't make it to that point. And I have met quite a few people who haven't been able to make that mind shift because of sticking with what the world, society, people outside of you are saying and are not being able to be introverted and listening to what is driving you. And so that's where I call it failing forward because if you pay attention to what is ticking inside of you, what the opportunities that are revolving around you, and society cannot tell you what drives you. They can only give you some feedback on questions you might have. When you're able to see that, you can fail forward. And that's part of that. In those lessons you learn, you go inside yourself and you have questions and you answer those questions. You can formulate another plan and you've learned a lesson along the way that you can build upon. So that's kind of where I use that term failing forward.
And failure to me, I think, has been used so negatively, and people just don't know what it really is. I mean, failure is like, okay, it's your turn to pause. What did I do wrong, or what could I have done better, or what did I didn't do? So next time,
exactly.
I will not do it again.
Exactly.
And
It's a learning process.
They just think it's like, oh, I failed. And depending how what your mindset is, either you're going to fall backwards or you're just going to move forward. And I keep telling that to people. Okay, you failed. What happened? What happened? What went wrong? Okay, what else could you have done so that won't happen again if you come to that situation again? And it's the same thing I use for my son. My son is an actual athlete. He's a black belt taekwondo. His goal, obviously, his dream is to go to the Olympics one day and represent the United States. And he's been doing this since he was 6. And there are times when, yeah, he loses his matches, so he's out of the game. And normally I told him, he's like, I failed. Like, okay, you failed. What could you have done? What could you have done better when, let's say, because you're obviously going to meet this person again in another match and another, you have an opportunity to fight this person again in another day. And he has learned that, okay, what did I do wrong? He actually, because we tape his matches, and he looks, okay, I could have done this, I could have done that. So he kind of knows that failure is not a bad word. A failure is like, okay, I have to do this again, or I have to, next time I have to, not really, got to be careful because he's very good at hitting the head, so I kind of have to block that. So he's come forward. I mean, he has gone pretty high, in his level. He's only 14, and we just came from USA team trials, and he was able to get on the B team, which means he still goes to Germany next year for the German Opens. So it's he's been learning about failure. I've been kind of telling him failure is not something to be ashamed of. It's something that you learn. It's your steps to learn to get to your dream. Without it, you know, you probably can't make it to your dreams. I've never met anybody who's made their goals, who got their dreams, and never failed.
Or made those goals or achieved those dreams in the first step.
Yes.
No, nobody ever has. There's always, because life is life. You always are going to have all kinds of external issues, matters that come up. You have no control over. You just have to deal with them. So yeah, you're going to have a setback, you know, and because it's such a good analogy. I always use those mountain climbers, because let's say you get to that second plateau and you encounter, you know, a 2-foot snowfall. It becomes at that point unsafe to continue on without somebody checking what the next, what the path between that point and the next plateau is.
Yeah.
So you always have to stop and take a step back and get a different perspective on how it is you're going to go forward. It's a setback. And those setbacks, just like failure is a learning experience.
Yeah,
It's not,
I would add to that also, because just with what you're speaking on, you kind of lead right into talking about mentors and systems and processes, because that also helps you in avoiding some of the failures that you would experience going it by yourself, going at it alone, trying to create new paths for yourself without a roadmap is definitely a, I guess what's the word, ingredients for a failure. But even if you do experience that, if you have people that you can reach out to that have gone, just like you're saying, reaching that plateau, but someone who has gone further, you can speak with them, you can connect with them, you can get some feedback from them, and they may tell you, if you just walk over the ledge 10 steps, you'll find a staircase that I built already. All you have to do is walk up 10 steps and you'll see a rope, you know, and so then that kind of gives you a system and a process to follow, where if you're going at it alone and going blind, you're not going to look for those steps that have already been built.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Keeping it simple. We as humans tend to overinflate and over exaggerate and overdo, when we don't need to do any of that if we just keep it simple. And that is the reason why I have chosen to go with my mentor and help him and promote him and his program, is because he keeps it as, and believe it or not, 2009, 6 years ago, that's actually what drew my attention to him, even before he came up with this company that he's got. You know, he was with another company at the time, and because he was making big name and a big inroads and making tons of money, he popped up. You know, he was in everybody's stream. Oh, have you heard what he's done? And, you know, did you know he made this much money in this month? So it attracted me, and I just started following him. And I lost track of him for not quite a year, but almost a year in there. Didn't hear anything, and I'm wondering, what the heck? And then when I finally did catch back up with him, oh my God, he went from here to here. And that's what, in all of those companies that he's been with, he has always become a master marketer. Now, do you know what a master marketer is? It's anybody in any company that has out-earned everybody else. He did that in 5 of his 15 companies. And he did it in the last 5 companies. And he did it that way because he kept the process simple. He never changed.
Right.
What he started in the first company, how he made his millions, he kept doing in every other company that he went with. And because his success was so grand, the the owners of the company were saying, yeah, let's follow this guy
Right.
and let's implement what he's doing. So the company got stronger because of what he was doing.
Exactly.
And then when he went to the next one, the next company, now he's documented. Now he's got proof. Now he's got almost 500,000 distributors under him. So he keeps growing and growing. And then he realized, I'm proven. I'm documented.
Yeah, because that's exactly it. It's
Yeah.
systems. If you have a system in place, you
Yeah.
don't you don't recreate the wheel.
But he
I had someone to reach out to me and wanting to work with me at one point, but then when I laid out my system, he wanted to recreate my system, and so it kind of left me baffled. You said you wanted to work with me, but then you wanted to tell me how to run the system. And so
yeah.
a lot of times I do find that people are new, and when you're new, you're not exposed to a lot of things, a lot of mindset development. A lot of people like to ignore the mindset development, and that's the foundation of your success, and so part of that is systems. If you have mentors and you have systems and you see that they're going down the road that you're trying to go, then you don't recreate the wheel. You need to be teachable. You need to be someone that is able to absorb information. And there's a difference in changing your personality to become somebody that you're not, or being teachable and learning how to integrate new systems and new ideas that you haven't been exposed to before.
And I will tell you something that I have learned again in all these years. I hear this industry saying you need systems. I hear this industry saying you need duplication. And I cannot disagree with that in theory. However, what I have learned is that the system doesn't have to be a landing page. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be an email process. It doesn't have to be this. It doesn't have to be all the things that these companies are telling you that you need, and in some companies you're paying for in the back end.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be those things. Again, which is another reason why I came to where I'm at now,
Mm-hmm.
is because our system is so simple. There,
Yeah,
we
I
have
think that's just it. It's everybody has to find what fits them
yeah,
and
we
what
have it
works for this person over here.
right.
If you're trying to, if you're
But
trying to go down a particular road, there's more than, as they say, as a telephone technician, I used to say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. When I was working for the phone company and I first started, they didn't necessarily have a design system. Okay, so when I first started, I was assigned a crew and I would ride along with technicians. And I remember actually the first technician that I rode with, he was a really nice guy, but he was not a teacher. And so I would ride with him, and he was open for me to look over his shoulder, but he had a job to do. And so he wasn't allowing me to do anything. I was just there to watch, and it was kind of boring without
mhm.
any kind of learning verbiage coming along with it. I'm just out there just kind of shadowing you. And I remember when I came back in the office, my manager asked me, how did the day go? And I told him that, just that. I gave him that feedback because I was very hungry to learn. I was excited to be a technician. I was anxious to do it because I've been raised, fortunately, I've been raised under the idea to follow your dreams, not just go out and get a job, but follow your dreams. So I've been attuned to what it is I like to do. And I didn't want to work in an office at that time. I didn't want the constraints of a manager per se telling me how to do the job and checking out to go to the bathroom or all those things you do. And so when I was working with him and I had that roadblock, I explained the situation with my manager and he put me with someone else. And then the following people that I worked with, was their process was a process that I could absorb. I could learn, I could ask questions. They allowed me to physically get my hands dirty. And this was even actually before I went to class. So because I was in the environment that was conducive for me, by the time I went to class, the instructor was wondering how I learned the things that I learned. He was ready to teach me, and he's like, "That was pretty good. Where did you learn that?" Because I was in the environment that was conducive for me, And I think that's it. You can't make a square peg fit in a round hole. So don't
Correct.
try to force it. Just find what fits for you.
Correct. Yeah, and that's so true of this whole network marketing industry, and I, it's very true. It's not for everybody. Just like nursing isn't for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
or an accountant isn't for everybody. We have to figure out what's right for us. But
That's true. I kind of disagree a little bit though, because I think that our society pushes that too much as far as such and such is not for you. When my third son was going to college and I was preparing him for college, I was really flabbergasted to hear the non-support that he got from the teachers, because they had already decided that he was not college material. He wasn't excited at that time to go to college. It was an agenda that I was pushing because I felt just that. The society tells you too many times that this might not be for you, and you give up too soon. And I think that that's a fine line of giving up too soon versus actually plowing through the difficult situation or the difficult time to find what it is, the part that you like. Because I think with anything that you do, I'm also in the network marketing. For me, if most people get into it for the income, I got into it for the training. When you on the real estate side, I'm an investor as well. You pay for all these things. These masterminds, what we're doing right now, you'll pay a little fee just to sign in to just listen over someone's shoulder. So I said, okay, why not build another business, generate an income, get the training, get access to mentors and people that I can speak with, grow a network, and merge the two. And so I've done that. I've spoken with people in network marketing that are interested in investing. I've spoken with people that are interested or investing that are involved in network marketing. So I think that I think that's a fine line in regards to saying that such and such is not for you, because I personally have experienced so many times where people have backed off just a little bit too soon because they use that as an excuse.
Well, I will not disagree with you at all. But again, that comes down to the person. Um, Here's my perspective on that. There are not people who are not college material. They don't have the will. They don't have the mindset to go on and do that. And if you stop and think about it, if those people were meant to have college educations, instead of going for some technical or vocational training, we wouldn't have auto mechanics. We wouldn't have beauticians. We wouldn't have florists. Those require technical vocational training. And those are the people who enjoy doing what they do.
Hmm.
If they were not meant for college, then they're not meant for college.
Right.
Beauticians, beauticians. My gosh, where would us women be without those magnificent
Yes.
beauticians who spend 9 months or a year in a vocational training course?
Yes.
It's not college. College was not for them. They wanted to get training to start earning an income right away.
Right.
So you're absolutely right, Monica, where there are some people who do give up on their on what they have, their potential that they have in their life. But I am a firm believer in that not everybody is college material.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I do believe that because and I've changed my mindset. Remember, I've got 3 college degrees, so I'm a big believer in education.
Right.
But at the same time, society has changed just in the last 5 or 10 years regarding education. And because the cost is so astronomical, and I could get into a big long economic debate here about that, but I worked for a county government for 8 years. And I know how difficult it is in my little farming community of only 43,000 people in my whole county. I can tell you how difficult it is for the major manufacturing companies in our area to find skilled journeymen, to find skilled electricians, to find skilled metal workers, to find skilled carpenters, to find skilled laborers. Blue collar workers are in desperate need in this area.
Wow.
And all of these major manufacturers are paying anywhere, starting anywhere. If you come in on an entry level, some companies may start $12 to $15 an hour. And no, that's not a grand amount, but it's better than working at McDonald's. But if you go to a technical or an industrial trades education and you come out with that kind of training, your salary after about 3 to 5 years will jump to about $20 an hour. So if it wasn't for those people who chose not to go to college but to get an education in trades, then we wouldn't have the manufacturing infrastructure. We wouldn't have the commodity and goods thing that we have. So I personally believe not everybody is designed to go to college.
I agree with you. I think we're saying the same thing. I will say, though, I will interject. When I speak about and I think about college material, I think everybody has the aptitude. And I think that society gives people an idea that they don't. You have to find what fits for you if you choose to pursue a college education, just like they have a Harvard or they have a community college. They teach in different formats. And then you have to find what works for you. But first you have to realize where your dreams lie.
Yeah,
and if you are looking to do hair, there's no need to pursue a college degree at this day and age. Me and Sandra just had a conversation yesterday. I remember the day you didn't need to have a degree to become a police officer. Now you have to have a degree to become you actually have to have a degree to do the job I did for 25 years. And I came straight out of high school and did that job. So I think that it's two different things. I think that everyone has the aptitude. And I think that people should not shortchange their self because of aptitude. But I think you need to pursue what turns you on. What's going to make you wake up and smile every day? You need to figure out how you educate yourself.
I totally agree. And I do have a law enforcement background as well.
Did you need to get a degree?
I did. You know what? That's how funny this is. Remember, I'm old. I'm up there with Moses here. But when I left college, when I left high school, my goal was to become a criminal attorney. That was what I wanted to do. I grew up in the Perry Mason era. You know, I devoured the old Perry Mason, and all I could think of was I want to do that. So all my high school career, I kept focusing on those classes that I thought would help me, and my guidance counselor told me this is what you're going to need to get into college. Well, the guidance counselor screwed up because there was 2 classes I should have taken. He didn't advise, and I didn't have enough. I had enough credits, but I didn't have enough the courses to enroll in pre-law. Yeah. So I chose another area, which was crazy. Journalism is what I would.
You know what? That was a failure. I just kind of want to interject that. Keep going.
It wasn't my failure.
No, it's just the term failure. I just kind of wanted people to see opportunity. And when you don't recognize, you just kind of, you go into depression. You really fall short because you're just in that box thinking. But I kind of wanted to highlight that because you just quickly change gears. And that's what you do when you're thinking in an open fashion, you know?
Correct. I had to because what my goal was, my mentor, who was supposed to be telling me this course you need and this course you need, he didn't give me the courses that I need, you know. So he failed me, but
Yeah.
that's what was so cool about it, because I entered college as a journalism major, and then my financial tuition fell through, and I had to leave college. Came back home, and that's how I got into law enforcement. I needed a job, and in the paper, the local police department was advertising a cadet program, and it was sponsored by the LEAC, the Law Enforcement Assistance Council. And what they were doing, we had a community college in my town, and what they offered was, if I was accepted, and I had to pass a whole bunch of tests, but if I was accepted by the city, then they would pay me a salary. I had the requirements to be accepted was I had to work 26 hours a week and enroll in junior college. They paid for my first 2 years of school, but my major had to be in criminal justice.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I love the law, and that's what I always wanted to do. So now I'm just looking at the other side of the law. This could be a win-win. I was the first woman in the 120-year history of that town to ever be hired by that city, and it kind of went to my head. I'll tell you, I'll be very honest, because I got the write-up in the newspaper and the interview on the radio station, and part of my job was to cover all the aspects. So I was a dispatcher. I directed traffic. I worked burglary, small little things. I worked burglary cases. I worked auto accidents. I got to take in the reports for people coming in for stolen bikes, or, I lost my billfold yesterday. And the bigger part of it was I got to body frisk the female prisoners coming into the jail that got arrested, and girl, I could spend 2 hours talking about that crap. And it was just exciting. I was a sponge. I lived and breathed that job. I literally came in on my days off just so I could sit around and watch everybody else do their job and take in what it was they did, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And then I got stupid and got married to the captain of one of the shift commander, not on my shift, but another shift commander. And because the city called that a conflict of interest, and because I was the newest one, I had to leave. The city, the city sent my butt packing. So I lost what could have been a phenomenal career, and I absolutely loved that job. I went through an FBI firearms training program. I had to spend a week in a minimum security prison in the office and in the commissary, and I'm telling you, that's a wake-up call. I firmly believe everybody needs to do that in some point of their life, because I think we could reduce the number of people we have in prisons by just experiencing that environment for an entire week. It's terrifying when you hear those metal bars click behind you, and you have nowhere in hell to go. And it's sobering. I come home every night just sad, just feeling. I remember feeling so sad.
Wow.
But I got to learn things that nobody else gets to learn.
Yeah.
Have you directed traffic? Have you worked an auto accident, where there's actually not only serious injuries but death? Have you worked burglaries? Have you been behind? Have you actually gone to a firearm and be trained by an FBI agent? No. I have. I've got experiences that nobody else has ever got.
Exactly. And that's what happens when you pursue your joy.
Yeah.
A lot of people stay in a box,
Yeah.
And when you don't pursue your joys, you don't experience those things, and those things shape you. It becomes your unique story. No one walks that same path, just like we all have individual fingerprints. We're not all meant to walk down that same road, marching one by one by one by one, doing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. That's just not filling your soul,
And
you know?
here's the irony of all of that. When I left, my brother was hired to replace me, and he went on from the city as a dispatcher. He went on from the city to the nearby county and worked as a county dispatcher, and he was there about 5 years. Then he went on and joined the Highway Patrol and spent 30 years with the Highway Patrol and retired at 55.
Mm,
He went on and pursued the career that I always wanted, which
wow.
is a major irony. Can you tell? I get excited about talking about this because it is what life is about. When one of the things when I was growing up, I grew up in kind of a very, very non-traditional family. My mom and dad were very good about teaching us life's lessons. They didn't say, well, what do you think, and or the traditional ways parents educate their things. We were always taught in a nutshell, young lady, we've taught you right from wrong. And in this life, you have two choices. You can make the right choice or the wrong choice. Now, here's the lesson. If you make the wrong choice and you end up somewhere you're not supposed to be, you call me. I want to know that you're okay. And if you're in jail, I want to know that. But I'm not bailing your behind out because you made the wrong choice and you're going to pay for making that wrong choice. And anything in life that you do, you're going to have to pay for not using your brain.
Right.
So
But then there's lessons in that you can take, and that kind of brings us right back to the same thing. You can make the wrong choice, but there's lessons. There are people that have gone down that road, and you still have choices. So there are people who have made the wrong choice and been able to change and get back redirected onto the road that they need to be on. But there are people that
correct.
have made the wrong choice on top of the wrong choice on top of the wrong choice because they don't stop to learn the lessons. There are lessons in every choice you make. Even the choice that somebody else tells you is right. Because sometimes you go down the right road to find out it's the wrong road for you. So it always are lessons in everything that you do.
Absolutely. And I was terrified. I didn't, my father was very black and white. I didn't want to disappoint him. I didn't want to have to hear his disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
So that has actually created the character
Yes.
and my ethic that I have now
Yeah.
because he said, I'm your parent. I'm here. I'm your, in essence, he was my mentor.
Yeah.
I'm here to point you in this direction. You do as we teach you to do. But if you choose to go off and do something else on your own, you're going to pay for it. We're trying to give you the right road to go down. And if you want to take that fork in the road, do it. But
Yeah.
you're going to pay for doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely right. So all we can do
Sandra,
is our best.
I don't know if Sandra's still there. I know that we kind of having a one-on-one conversation. I want Sandra to have an opportunity. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I like your parents, like they taught you, okay, right from wrong, and if you choose, you go that. I mean, that's where people have to be mindful of what they're doing. I mean, yeah, my parents taught me right from wrong, and if you go down that path, you go down that path, and it's up to you. You have to, figure out what the consequences are. But that's where I think of where, like I said, when we're talking about the failures, going out there, doing what you like and everything, you kind of have to stop in many ways during your lifetime and just stop. Where am I going? How am I getting there? And then continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to have little stops in between. I'm like, okay, I got
Yeah.
to this point. Where do I go now? Because if you continue like a locomotive, sometimes you just hit, you know, the wall, and I'm like, oh wow, now I got to back up, back up and
Yeah,
go this way now.
yeah,
But if you would have like, okay, this way, okay, that way, you probably would get there, you know, without so many hitting the walls. Because I mean, when I was younger, I used to hit a lot of walls, and that's when I kind of learned, okay, Sandra, you're going this way. Stop. Okay. Where am I going? Okay. Instead of I would have just gone head into the wall. I'm like, okay, now let me go make a left. This is where I have to go, you know, with my goals and everything else to get to my.
yeah,
So I mean, that's one of the things you have to kind of be mindful and and I'm usually mindful in a lot of things. You know, what I eat, you know, what I do, you know, stop, kind of like, okay, stop and smell the flowers for a minute, okay,
mhm,
and then continue.
yeah, yeah. Just speaking on, kind of elaborating on what you mentioned, BJ, with parents, and speaking about my influence, I was a daddy's girl. Um, and so my dad actually was my influence in getting me started. Like I said, fortunately for me, I was raised with that. I mean, I can just quote it. I don't even know who said it to me. When you grow up, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be the president of the United States. There was not a concept of a black president, especially a woman at that time. But my sister was becoming a doctor, and because she was a doctor, I thought there was not supposed to be two doctors in the family. So I chose not to be a doctor just because she was becoming a doctor.
But
Um,
did you
but I
did you think that yourself?
Yes, I
Yeah.
had a lot of crazy notions. I had notions that I wasn't supposed to talk to upperclassmen in school, and I can't talk to the lower classmen because I'm an upperclassman. And once Facebook was created, I got on Facebook and I started connecting with people. I had to bust through that concept in my head. I've reached out and connected with people that I was intimidated with or by in school, and we're connected now, and I've had that conversation with those people. So you kind of go through life and you learn. Sometimes there are limitations that other people put on you, and sometimes there are limitations that you put upon yourself. But I remember being in a vehicle with my dad, as I was trying to map out that next phase in my life. He was pinnacle in the education that I had chosen, and I had decided that I wanted to what was it? I did not want that, like I said, to work in an office. I wanted to have some freedom. I liked the technical background. My dad was the first African American elevator mechanic for the post office in here in DC, the main post office. And so I kind of migrated to what he that working with tools and resistors and things of that nature. And so we were riding up the street one day, and I saw a telephone truck. And, he made the suggestion to me to go and apply. I had a limitation that I had upon myself because of the era that I grew up. Women, did certain jobs and things. And so I had applied at the phone company, but only in the typing pool because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, but I didn't want to do that. So it's so funny. Um, so actually, what I did after his encouragement, I went out and applied to be a technician, took the test, got the job, and was very happy. So it's funny because I was kind of elaborating with what you were saying as far as parents, and I wanted to go into that too with parents. You know, we're raising our children. We have the best resource that we feel we have to raise them in the right way. And sometimes, especially when they get to be teenagers, oh my goodness, they start challenging you. And I told you to go down this road, and why didn't you go down this road? And sometimes they're learning lessons even as parents because then the kid goes down that road. And then after you have a conversation, you find out that actually that road over there was a better road for them. They kind of had a fix on things, and you start learning the person that they're becoming. Um, so I guess it's a fine line
That's
all the way around.
all of that, is called self-limiting belief, and that's we are our worst enemies. We
Hmm.
are our worst victim when it comes to not stepping outside the box. And it is, you're right, you're 100% correct. I don't know how old Sandra is, but I'm assuming that she probably also grew up in the era where women probably were encouraged to do things differently, but because of everything society has told us, women can't do it. You know, we ingrain that into, well, I can't do that. Nobody will allow me to do that. You know, they're going to stop me. Nobody's going to let me do that. Instead of going out there and learning to fail.
Yes.
You know, maybe you can't do it, but don't ever stop that interest from from challenging yourself. You know, well, so what if you fail at it? So what if you find out you're not good at it? Oh well,
You're
go
going to
on,
learn a lesson.
you
Yeah,
learn a lesson and go on and do something else that appeals to you.
exactly.
That's exactly that is, you know, it's not a regret for me, but I can tell you for a fact it's a regret for my father, because my brother was so focused on one career his whole life. My father always praised that, and I cannot tell you how many times I heard, why can't you be more like your brother? Because, as I told you, I've come from 1,000 different jobs. I've got 3 degrees. I worked in all of those professions my whole life. And one of the last conversations that we had was, he said, I just wish you could have found something you enjoyed. And I said, I did, Dad. I wouldn't have done all of them. You know, I enjoyed every one of them.
Hmm.
And I walked away more knowledgeable, more informed, more skilled than most people, because I did learn from all of that.
Yeah,
I've done things you've never done. I've experienced life like you've never experienced it. I have no regrets about what I do, what I've done in my life. I'm not sorry that I never had got got a 1 degree and stuck with it. You know,
right.
that I I'm always in search of something
Yeah.
else, of learning of something else. And yeah, I failed more more times than there are stars in the heaven. But I walked away bigger, stronger, prouder, and more intelligent than a lot of people ever experience in their life. And I'll go to my grave never regretting what I've done in my life.
Yeah,
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 yeah, sure. I mean, like you, Monica, I know that you have beliefs on what I could and couldn't do, and of course, in my culture, it's very, very defined on what a woman's role is and what a man's role is in Hispanic culture. And I was told, as a woman, you're supposed to do this and this and this, and the man is supposed to do this and this. And I've always asked the question why, and because they couldn't give me a good answer, just because that was not an answer to me, I'm like, whatever. And I've always broken, with tradition to the chagrin of my family. But
I hear you. I hear you.
I know, but it just happened. It just because they couldn't, answer why. And I guess my role model was my grandmother, even though I only had her for the first 6 years of my life. I mean, when my grandfather left her with 6 kids, I mean, she had to be the mom and dad. She became an entrepreneur. She did everything. So I didn't think when everybody else in my other family, when she was gone, were saying, well, you have to do this because you're the woman. I'm like, well, my grandmother didn't do it. Why can't I? And she lived in a much older generation where it probably was really frowned upon,
yeah,
to do that. She, after her husband left, she was supposed to get somebody else to take care of her and the kids, and that's not what she did. She's like, okay, let me do something because I got to raise these kids now. I got to raise 6 kids. He left me.
hmm,
So I've never had that limit. It's always been like, you have black sheeps of the family. Well, I was a weird sheep of the family because everybody know I was so weird because I've never stuck to what, was supposed to, I played with the big boys. I mean, I'm actually in real estate, but I'm in commercial real estate where most people say, oh, you're playing with the big boys. You can't play with big boys. You
right.
have to, like, no, I play with the big boys. I'm not afraid to do that. So, why can't a woman do this? You
Yeah,
know, if I fail, okay, what did I do wrong? Let me do it again so I could actually get it right next time. So, yeah, I've never had the belief. I guess my grandmother was the role model for me, and I guess, I'm lucky for that I had her, even the first 6 years, which was not a lot, but I still remember her clearly, all that she said, even at my, decades that I've lived right now. I'm not even going to say how many decades now, and she's been gone for at least a very, few of those decades. But I still remember her. I mean, she was my example. And when people couldn't answer why, well, a girl can't do this, like, why? Because they don't. That's not an answer.
Yeah. I
Good
think
answer.
I've had those same experiences.
No.
And like you said, it really came from my foundation. For me growing up, being a daddy's girl, he used to tell me I was spoiled. And okay, fine. But my definition of spoiled meant that somebody did it for me. And when I would ask those people to please define it, because I guess I was kind of always introspective in some fashion. So, okay, this must be a problem I need to fix about myself. So please explain to me what it is I'm spoiled so that I can kind of analyze that and change it, because I don't want to be considered spoiled. But they could never give me a definition. And as I grew and I grew into myself, I realized that I think I did not have the verbiage. It wasn't until I got into real estate that I realized that I was different than a lot of people. Um, so I thought I operated and thought like a lot of people, but I would go down my own road. But sometimes it was because of necessity, not necessarily because I wanted to do. And all of those things were character builders for me. I think, but it really becomes who you are and what kind of conversation you have inside your own head. Because one thing that's a character builder for one person could be an obstacle that puts them at a stop and a period for another person. So once again, I'm big on personal development, because if you don't build that side of yourself up, you are going to look at obstacles, you are going to look at opportunities, you are going to look at things as a period stop. I can't do it like I did in school. You know, throughout my entire time in school, I can remember one young lady. She was pretty, she was nice, she was a cheerleader. I wasn't allowed to be a cheerleader when I grew up. She was a cheerleader, she was popular. And so, I connected with her on Facebook, but we didn't really chat. But my high school has the games, and all of the alum come. We all just show up. We tailgate. They kicked the tailgates off a few years ago. Now, I'm not really a football lover, but it's an opportunity to connect and see some people. And so seeing her over and over, and now we're both on the board for our high school committee. And I had to come to terms with that, because why am I still scared of you? You're a nice lady, and you talk to me, and you're liking all my posts. And so, it really, you have to have that conversation inside yourself. It's going to show up again. If you don't resolve whatever that is, it's going to show up. And this is from high school. And just speaking about that kind of roadblock, and it's probably a little bit off of the direct subject of failure. But just joining Facebook, I have friends today that don't want to be on Facebook because of the evil monster Facebook. Facebook is this monster. My niece is that way. I have a girlfriend that's that way. And, I run into friends that from high school, and I'm telling them, all of us are on Facebook. You got to get on Facebook. They want to see and reconnect with these people, but this is a monster. And once again, just like I wanted the definition for my being spoiled, I'm still looking for the definition of the monster of Facebook, because you pick the people that are your friends, you pick the people you want to talk to, you create the environment on Facebook that you want to have. And if you don't want to talk to people that are negative, then don't include them in your world. That goes as Facebook as well as real life. And I just had to say that.
That's those limiting beliefs. That it all goes back to that mindset and limiting beliefs.
Yes.
Everything that we tell ourselves we can't do, I don't want to do, I don't want to get involved in it, it all comes back to limiting what you believe in, not in yourself. So I see we have Kevin.
Yes.
Is he still with
Kevin
us?
Coyne. I don't know if Kevin can talk yet, and I've been meaning to but we kind of went on with the conversation. Definitely welcome, Kevin. I don't know if you, okay, yeah, he still can't, you can't chat yet still, can you, Kevin? If you have anything you want to definitely add, you can type it in on the group chat, and I'll include it with the conversation. And I hope you get value at what we're discussing. The topic today is on failure. And actually, I look at failure as a moving point going forward and not a period. And so that's kind of what we're speaking about today. Um, so definitely glad you joined, and you'll definitely be able to see the recording. Um, and and he said no video and no, yeah, and you're late, but that's okay. I'm glad you're in. Welcome back. And actually, it's a little bit after 1. I said today we were going to go for an hour. Originally, we were going for 30 minutes, but I figured as we got more people in, we'll have a good conversation. And that's just what this is meant to be. It's not really a way to kind of, how you say, market your particular business, but really just grow value from building relationships and sharing information, because when you do that, you're able to learn something. I know in our conversation, BJ, I really was blown away the first time we talked. It's like we are just like sisters. I feel like we have so many common thoughts.
I agree. I agree. I
Yeah,
felt the very same way too. I really, really enjoyed it, and that's what Facebook has done. If we had not been in the same company and we had not made a connection, and I had not stepped out my comfort zone and offered my education and my training, we never would have made a connection.
yeah,
And that's, that's it's all taking that that step out of your comfort zone and
yeah,
experiencing something new. And with me, again, by doing what I'm now doing, that just reinforces what my new chapter is in my
right.
retirement life. This is my final chapter in life.
No, it's not.
There's
No,
no.
it's not. It's not final till it's final.
Well, no, what I mean by that is that this goal that I have is is to become a teacher and a mentor, and to be able to get out there in public on stage and teach and share all of my years experience in network marketing, all my experiences in all the jobs I've ever done, in personal development that I've experienced and I'm learning, and I want to empower the next generations to come to understand that we as human beings, because we have we have so much worth, we
Yes,
have so much value, we have so much to give, but because we're in such a time in our world right now where everything goes so fast, and we're expected to achieve at the highest levels, that we're overachievers, and we need to dial it down
yeah,
and become and recognize us and
yeah,
what we can contribute. And it doesn't matter if you contribute as a street sweeper or a garbage man or an educator or a convenience store owner,
yeah. You
or
never know. You
a,
never know. You never know. I know as a telephone technician, just speaking about that, one of my worries was that I would go to a house and someone would be in distress. And I would knock on the door, because there's a few times I knock on the door and no one would answer, but the door is open. And I would be in a quandary. Do I walk away, or somebody in there that just can't make it to the door? But I say that to say, when you're speaking about your value, I might have been there to fix a phone, but you've heard stories of people in those same type of jobs that are considered just those little jobs that you just have with no name behind who you are. You saved a life. That was a value. That was a value. That was a one-on-one. If you weren't there, that person wouldn't be here to do whatever they had to do to provide value for someone that you have not met.
we all
So,
touch lives. We
yeah,
all touch lives.
yep,
And
exactly.
I just think our kids, you know, even in even in the generation behind us, me, because I think you're probably in the generation behind me, but in those generations and down, I think we're not focusing on giving our kids value. We're so focused on making them somebody.
Hurry up and
Yeah,
get there. Hurry up and get there.
yeah. We're too focused on the money. We're too focused on the fame. We're too focused on the notoriety. Because we now, especially this current generation, is now so focused on all of that, all the material stuff. And it's so funny. Steve Harvey, yesterday, there was a post that Robert Hollis made yesterday. He forwarded on. And I just thought it was so magnificent. And I love Steve Harvey to begin with because he's so down to earth and such a Christian. But there was a gentleman, a young man, and I'm going to assume in his early mid-20s. And here's what happened. He stood up in the audience and he said, Steve, and I'm going to paraphrase a lot here. He said, Steve, I go to this coffee shop every morning, and in that coffee shop is this lovely, beautiful girl, and I want to ask her out. So do you have any one-liners that's going to get her attention? And Steve's shaking his head like this. And he said, why are you wanting a one-liner? What happened to being a gentleman? And all the women are applauding in the audience. And he said, son, here's what you need to do. You need to go in and say, do you know what kind of a day you would, what kind of a day you could make my day if you could tell me your first name? And all the women went, "Aww," and then he says, get your coffee and leave. Then the next day go back in and say, do you know what kind of a day it would make what kind of day I would have if I could share my name with you? And his name was Adam. So he said, hi, whatever her name was, I'm Adam. It's nice to meet you. And grab your coffee and leave. And all the girls went, aww.
Hey, Adam, come back, Adam.
And then he said, on the third day, he said, now you know her name. She knows yours. She knows that you're a gentleman. She knows you're a kind man. Now on the third day, get your coffee and say, do you know how wonderful it would be if you and I could grab a cup of coffee away from this place and we got to chat and get to know each other a little better? Would that be good for you? Or would that work for you? Or how does that make you feel? Or
right.
Be respectful, be kind, ask permission.
Yeah.
And all the girls, there was a whole row of girls up in the balcony or the back of the studio that stood up and applauded him, and the kid was just mortified. And he said, what's your hurry, Adam? What's your hurry? That young girl's going to still be there tomorrow and the next day and the next day. What's your hurry? And if this is something that you truly want to pursue and you like her that much, show her respect, young man. Show her that there's still some gentlemanship. That's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word I want?
Chivalry.
Chivalry. Show her that there's still some chivalry left in the world, and you be the first man to show it to her. And he stopped the conversation and he just walked right off stage. Everybody was applauding and applauding. Adam's still standing up. The crew's still around on stage, and Steve just walked right off stage. It was awesome. It was just awesome. That's cool. Again, everybody, those kids are in a hurry. They want to do stuff right now and right now.
That's the society we're raising. That's what we're teaching them. Everything is instant,
And it fit what I was going through yesterday so much, because I had somebody I was chatting with, and and they were pushing and pushing and pushing, and I wasn't buying in. I was trying to slowly get their attention, and I just finally ended it and said, look, apparently you're not what I'm looking for, and I wish you the very best of luck in your ventures, your future
Yep.
ventures. I want you to succeed in whatever you do. But I ended the conversation because they weren't wanting to hear what I had to say.
Yeah.
So there come a time when I just had to cut it off, and that's okay.
Yep.
Not everybody's going to listen.
Exactly. Exactly. And in the business we're in, especially, we
Mhm.
want to be in business and working with people that are on the same page, because
Yeah.
if it's a conflict today and you're just as pushy, then there'll be a conflict tomorrow because
Yep.
you're not communicating. You have your agenda, that person has their agenda, and you're not on the same page. And when building relationships, no matter what it is, business or not, you have to be on the same page, because at some point there's going to be a conflict. If you're
Well,
going down the road left and that person's going down the road right, you all both think you're going down the same road, you're going to wake up at some point and realize, hey, you're on a different road than me.
Jim Rohn said it best. You smile them in and you smile them out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I tell you what, we have definitely gone like almost an hour and a half. I really wanted to stop at an hour. I don't know how many people are going to want to watch the recording, but it definitely was a great conversation. I know I have a bit of technical problems in getting these hangouts started, and sharing with people. I'm glad I've gotten to the point where I'm actually able to get people in, because, I was failing forward at first. Yeah, I have a lot of technical problems with setting up the hangout, and then I couldn't get the computer to record or get it started. It would freeze. So I'm glad to see that you all are in, and I look forward to having other people in. The more people we get in, the more we can get input and different perspectives. Before I do wrap it up, I wanted to ask Kevin if he had any input he wanted to give or any questions you might have. Please type it in if you do, as well as Sandra if you want to add anything before we wrap it up.
No, I've been taking notes. I always take notes on these hangouts, even though I could be some of the speakers, but I'm like, let me see what the other person has to
Exactly.
hear. Maybe that one. Like I said, I'm always open to new ideas, new ways of thinking. Like, oh, I've never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess in all this time, I guess even after graduation high school, I guess I've never stopped learning. I always learn new stuff, all the time. And I thought high school was it. I'm like, oh, great, that's it. College will be great, and that'll be it, and no more learning, no more doing homework. And apparently that has never ended. I'm still learning. I guess I'll be learning till the day I die.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest farce. We raise kids to think that that's a period, and I have heard a lot of kids with that. They don't want to go to college because they don't want to learn anymore. They have the mindset that they've graduated high school, college is an option. I don't want to learn anymore. Whether you go to college or not, you better keep your mind open, because it's a lifelong learning. I mean, even if it's on something fun, if you want to learn if you want to sew and you haven't sewn for the first 40 years of your life, your parents did it for you, you got married, your wife did it for you, you've gotten a divorce, and now you're faced with a shirt with no button and a ripped jacket, you're going to have to decide, am I going to throw everything away every time it rips, or am I going to learn to sew? And for me, where I'm at is learning how to do these daggone Google Hangouts.
There's a difference between book learning and life learning.
Yeah.
And in order to grow as a human, you will always be undergoing a learning process in every step that you do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Every step. So yeah, we need book learning. We got to learn the basics. It's just like I said. Anything worth having requires a foundation, and if you don't have a solid foundation, nothing in life is ever going to be strong.
Yep.
So you've got to have those fundamental, foundational elements in all aspects of your life. So it's an ongoing thing. It is what life requires of us.
Yep.
whether you want to do it or not, you're always going to be learning something.
Yeah,
Always.
I agree.
Yeah. So are you free tomorrow morning at our scheduled time? Is there a conflict tomorrow?
No conflict.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll probably end up messaging you afterwards on Facebook.
Okay. That's
But
fine.
definitely no conflict. We should be fine tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm going to
Okay.
wrap it up. I'm definitely going to be following up with you, Sandra, as soon as we do end the call. Definitely thanks for everybody for joining. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. You all know how to reach me. You've already connected with me on Facebook. And if you have any topics that you want to discuss, I've had a few come in. We'll be having those. Sandra will also, I want to interject this. Sandra and I are powwowing now. Sandra has extensive, oh, I want to say extensive, but her thing has been natural food and the healing processes that food offers you. But social media is not her thing, just like I'm learning these hangouts. So
I'm
I'm kind
learning
of trying
social
to
media.
extract that out of her because she's the go-to person. So what we have agreed on is that she's going to do some recording instead of having it interactive, set up with a set schedule because she's a mom of yeah, is he considered a junior Olympian? What is he considered? A
Well, I
pre-Olympian?
mean, well, he's a cadet now. He'll be a junior next year because he's 14 years old. Uh,
Okay.
but he's an athlete, a black belt athlete, and you know, unfortunately, he has to be 18 years old to get into the Olympics.
Ah.
But that, you know, the process starts basically way back.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. So her schedule is all over the place. When are you going to Germany?
April.
Okay, so she's got a trip to Germany. She just came back from Fort Lauderdale. She's been to Canada. She's every time I blink, she's somewhere. So a lot of times she's not in the hangout because she's with her son at a competition. So what we've decided is we're going to do some recording, and that way Sandra can share some of her knowledge with some of the mentors that she has, some of the people that she follows in healing powers of food. Because a lot of times I'll go to her. I've had a friend whose sister had cancer, and I wanted to give her some feedback on food. She was ready. 'Cause that's another thing with that mindset. People are sometimes not ready for information, but she was ready for information. And so instead of just giving her what I thought at the top of my head, I know she knew a lot of good suggestions, as well as a friend who has endometriosis, and Sandra has single-handedly helped her dad with his diabetes and single-handedly prevented herself from getting diabetes with the knowledge she has. So we're going to have some recordings. They're going to actually only be in the office, the back office, the link that everyone has for the VIP list where all the recordings are. They'll be added there instead of being on a scheduled time. So you can check back from time to time. We'll send out emails and let you know when we upload them. But I think that will be some great value for some of the people that have reached out with some questions. So I just wanted to say that before we did wrap it up. And at this point, I am going to bring it to an end. This is a new process for me in being able to say the quoted word. This recording, this call has come to an end. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Bye.